Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Just a few moments ago, Governor Lamont signed Executive Order Number 2, which it directs Secretary McCaw and myself to initiate an initiative to centralize and streamline the executive branch's human resources function. So this is part of a broader initiative that the Governor and Secretary McCaw are helping to drive, looking at how we reinvent government to modernize it, to streamline it, to make it more efficient going forward. With respect to this particular initiative in HR, I think it's helpful to briefly touch on the current state of how we provide human resources services in the executive branch. So as many of you know, today many of our business functions, including HR, are highly decentralized. So we have about 325 people providing HR support across the executive branch. The vast majority of those people are in separate departments out in the major agencies. And they work very hard and very well to provide a wide variety of human resources services to their commissioners, their leadership teams, and their employees. Over the past years, as the number of people in those departments has drifted downwards, those jobs have gotten harder. And in often cases, the complexity of those jobs with new laws coming out, new policies, new employment contracts, the complexity goes up as well. So those jobs have gotten harder. We're also at a time where there's a lot of technology tools available that can help make those jobs easier, but it's very hard to roll them out when you're in a very decentralized world like this. And then you overlay that as well with the fact that out of these 325 people, 124 of them, or 38%, are scheduled to retire within the next 3 years. So that's a very large risk, obviously, in terms of the institutional knowledge and expertise that's about to walk out the door. But we also see it as an enormous opportunity to relook at how we provide these services, re-engineer the processes, and look to do them more efficiently and save some money in the process. So we've been working over the last several months on plans about how we can do this. And the plan fundamentally involves bringing those people together into a centralized unit. And by re-aggregating those people, it gives us the opportunity to organize them into specialized teams. So for example, we'll have teams focused on HR business partners who are kind of like that right hand of the commissioner or the deputy commissioner on site at the agency, providing that day-to-day HR strategy guidance. We'll have a team focused on talent management and recruiting to help make sure we're getting the right talent in the right place at the right time. We'll have a specialized team focused on employee leaves and benefits, getting timely, accurate, reliable guidance to our managers and employees about the variety of leaves and benefit programs that we administer, and labor relations, a function that obviously helps administer our collective bargaining agreements and deals with a wide variety of issues that are related to those. So the majority of these new groups will be centralized in DAS under our new Deputy Commissioner who's being named today, Nick Herms, who's standing to the right of the Governor, who's being named as Deputy Commissioner and the state's first Chief Human Resources Officer. Nick has been with the state of Connecticut for a little over 3 years, serving as the Director of statewide HR, where he's already successfully implemented several really cool transformational initiatives, bringing some new technology in for some of the limited services that we already do provide centrally. Before that, he served in an HR leadership role at the state of Hawaii, and before that, he served our nation in the United States Army. One of these specialized groups, which will be reporting directly into OPM and through the Undersecretary Faye Brown-Breton, is the Labor Relations Group, which will be centralized within OPM, reporting up through Secretary McCaw. But we'll have a dotted line relationship, and as we do with everything between DAS and OPM, we'll be operating hand in glove seamlessly to execute these plans. So this new model we envision giving us enormous leverage to improve the quality of the services we provide, bring in new technology that can help automate a lot of manual tasks that consume a lot of the effort of some of our staff today, and also help us achieve cost savings in the process as well, which is an important component of this also, recognizing our goals to improve the cost structure of the state government going forward. In terms of timeline, as I mentioned, we've been working over the last several months on plans which have brought us to today with the confidence that this is something we absolutely want to do. Going forward, we'll be spending the rest of the year roughly on setting up additional detailed work teams to plan at the lower levels in these specialized areas. We're going to be running some lean events to streamline a lot of these processes, get the new management team in place, line up midterm budget adjustments for all the moving parts here, and be ready to go live with this new organization likely at the end of this year or early next year. We've also set up, given there's a lot of information moving parts here, we've set up a website. I think the URL is in the press release that you all should be receiving, which is going to be an ongoing source of information for our employees, but also for anyone else who's interested about information here. We have an FAQ document there for folks. We have the executive order will be posted there, a press release, and then as we continue to roll out more information, as we continue the planning process, more and more information will be posted there. Before I turn it over to Secretary McCaw, I'd just like to say a couple words of thank you. First to the staff. So we have a number of people on our staffs, both at DAS and OPM, who've been working very hard on this, and this is kind of like above and beyond side projects, a lot of nights and weekends work, and I want to thank you guys for the extra effort to get us to this point. Also want to thank my fellow commissioners and their HR leaders who have been very actively engaged in this planning process. We've held a number of focus groups with them. Their input has been instrumental in shaping this plan, and we've made a number of adjustments along the way to reflect their feedback. Would like to thank Secretary McCaw for her always outstanding partnership and guidance on everything we do together, including this initiative going forward. Paul for his advice and guidance, and certainly for the governor, who has really set the tone for all of us that the status quo is not good enough, that we need to be working hard on ways that we can reinvent how we operate the state's functions, look to save money, look to improve the services that we provide, and this is an exciting, I think, step in that direction. So with that, I'm thrilled to introduce Secretary McCaw.
Great. Well, good morning, I believe it is. I would like to echo the sentiments that Commissioner Geballe has just expressed, and certainly want to acknowledge our leader, Governor Lamont. He certainly has given a very clear charge to his agency heads to rethink the way state government operations are currently executed. And so I believe that there's an incredible opportunity with respect to the centralization of the human resources and labor relations functions in the state of Connecticut, an opportunity to standardize our practices and our procedures and our policies, and certainly with respect to the labor relations component, ensure greater consistent application of our collective bargaining agreements. This is just one example of a step in the right direction to maximize and leverage efficiencies across state government, and I'm very thankful to the partner that I have in Commissioner Geballe and for the work that we will jointly be pursuing together. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our leader, Governor Ned Lamont.
This was very important to me for three reasons. I mean, one, coming into state government, we made it loud and clear that we're going to do everything we could to streamline our government delivery of services, hold down costs, and do this on a more efficient basis. And one of the first things we did was we had lots of independent departments and commissioners that didn't always work together. We put in place the first chief operating officer the state's seen in Paul Mounds, as we try and collaborate between departments to work. Now we find out we have our first human resources officer overseeing what we do here for the state. And this is our way of saying we're beginning to run this state a lot more efficiently in a way that emphasizes quality. As Josh pointed out, we've also put a lot of money into technology so we can now share information across departments. Josh will be able to announce we have a new purchasing platform that will be in place over the next 90 days that allows us to purchase across statewide government, municipalities as well. What we've done in terms of the technology platform and Microsoft, which we announced recently, that again allows us to work across these different borders that sometimes separate state government. So number one, we're doing this in point of view of quality and streamlining what we're trying to do. Number two, it's not a big cost savings today, but this is the beginning of how we lean up our state government. Josh maybe pointed out, we have hundreds of people involved in personnel spread across dozens of different departments. A third of them look like they may be retiring over the next 3 or 4 years. So this is our opportunity to try and consolidate this under one roof, plan for what these retirements are going to look like, what are the type of people we need to work in a more technology-friendly government going forward. And that's what we're trying to emphasize today. And thirdly, I just want to say on a personal note, I come out of the private sector, and A lot of folks in the private sector look at state government, just think we can't get out of our own way, and we just don't run things efficiently, and it's just one big bureaucratic slow motion. And I'm trying to do everything I can to convince people that we're taking a fresh start here in state government, leaning it up, making sure that all the efficiencies perhaps you see in the private sector, we're bringing to state government, and give the taxpayers confidence that their money is being well spent, well invested, and we're getting the job done. And that's what this executive order today was all about, the beginning of a new state government that leans up and gets the job done. With that, we'll be happy to take any questions.
How many of you said there were 325 employees spread out in the HR function. How many, are they all union employees, or how many of them are?
No, actually none of them are.
None of them are, okay. So will there be any attrition in this transition, or?
Yeah, so as mentioned, 124 of those people we're forecasting are going to retire over the next 3 years. So that is the source of the savings, which then is partially reinvested in the form of some additional people we will hire back, about half that many, and then some additional.
I'm sorry, how many?
100, we're forecasting, so this is not exact rate. This is obviously personal decisions that people make, but based on our forecast, it would be 124 out of the 325, so 38%.
And how many
cost
agencies?
savings?
Sorry, go
What
ahead.
kind of cost, you're talking about cost savings, will that be over a period of time? Is there any idea of how much money could be saved by doing this?
Yeah, as we work through the final planning in the coming months, we're going to be finalizing those budgets. But right now, our estimate is that once fully implemented, we expect to save in the neighborhood of $10 million per year.
And can I ask, will the average state worker see a big difference in the way that they interact with HR? Will it be through a website person, or will it be a big change for them?
Yes. So we're really excited about this. So a lot of the HR tasks today are very manual, very paper-based. So like when we all joined as new employees, we were presented on our desk the first day an inch-thick stack of paper that we had to fill out to, set up our direct deposit and our benefits enrollments and all that sort of stuff. Everywhere else I've worked, that's all done online. The employee does that themselves. They can do it at night in their free time with their spouse next to them, making decisions. I think a much better user experience for most people, so there's that. I also think for the HR professionals that we're talking about, we're looking at giving them some tools as well to automate some of the manual tasks that's part of their day-to-day. So for example, when we post a job on our website, we'll often get hundreds of applicants submit for that job. And it's on either the HR staff or the hiring manager, or in some case both, to sift through that huge stack of applications, looking for the relatively small number who are actually qualified for the job, and then moving them into an interview process. Today there's AI solutions, artificial intelligence solutions that are out there that can actually help you do that shortlisting exercise and get it down quickly to these are the candidates most likely to be qualified for your job, so that you don't have to pour through all those hundreds of resumes. So just a couple of quick examples of how I think this will really improve life for our employees and for the citizens of the state.
Aren't there outsourcing possibilities for payroll and things like that? I mean, the state does it all themselves now. Most of these companies here that I think we all work for, it's all done by some outside contractor, whether it's Exponent or ADP.
Yeah.
So there's a few big ones. Is that a possibility?
No, that's not part of the plan. I think when we execute this plan that we're putting together, this resulting organization will actually be extremely lean and cost effective, and we're focused on executing on that.
The way it is now, is it 100% paper-based? In other words,
No.
no.
It's not 100%. So
Well,
how technical do we want to get here? We have.
You said you have to fill out all these forms. I'm just asking, do you have the option to do it online?
Not too technical. All right. We have a central, what's called an ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning System, called Core CT. Many of you are probably familiar with. So that's the system that runs the whole state, really, in terms of our personnel records, payroll, purchasing, AR, AP, et cetera. Actually, an incredibly successful implementation where we've got the whole state running on one system. Not a lot of states actually have that. But right now, that's not really, in most cases, that's not exposed to the employee to be able to enter their own information on things like this. Like if I have a new child or I have a life event where you have to go change a benefit enrollment or something. Right now, that has to go through a paper-based process. So part of this will be getting the systems that we have established in place exposed to the end users, the employees in this case, so that they can do this stuff themselves. And then there's other examples too, like one of the things Nick did since he got here 3 years ago was he put in place our first online applicant tracking system. So it used to be heavily paper-based process to collect resumes and applications for jobs. We have a great online system now. He leverages social media, and we've been seeing great results from that in terms of increased volume of applicants, as well as increased percentages of women, minorities, and veterans in a number of the key roles that we've been posting for. So those are maybe a few examples, Chris, of what we're doing.
Will there be a way for agencies maybe to share some of the applications they've received? Like you say, some jobs might get a whole bunch of them, but maybe.
Yes, great question. So one of the real values we see in having these specialized teams around recruiting is that we can then further subdivide those groups into what we're calling agency pods. So in a lot of cases, the type of skill you might be recruiting for, let's say in a law enforcement type role, if we're recruiting for state police, or we might be recruiting for a correctional officer, we have a centralized pod of people who are, maybe able to work together to share resources, to work together on strategies about how we want to access talent out in the market. In similar kind of missions across our agencies, if that makes sense. So we're anticipating a pod structure in some of these specialized group where the teams can work together on similar goals, particularly in the area of recruiting.
Are you going to hire more people? So if 120 leave out of that 3 1/4 or whatever, is there going to be more? Or are you going to basically work with that group?
So the way the math worked, as mentioned, and again, we're finalizing these plans in the coming months, but our current modeling suggests that 124 leave, we replace about half of that, so around 60 people, and then we also invest a little bit in some of these technology solutions. The net of that would be about the $10 million in savings that I
So
mentioned.
that comes from, they earn a lower wage, they're in the Tier 4 plan, that sort of thing?
Mostly that there's less of them, yeah,
Okay,
but
so
in those
that's-
factors as
right.
well.
Yeah,
So
but I mean-
it's fewer refills, it's refilling the positions at a lower level, and every dollar you save, you're saving about 31% in health and pension normal costs, Social Security, FICA, things of that nature. So this is a plan that's still in the works, but certainly we do believe that we'll need to make some investment to bring in some leadership for this initiative. But with the attrition savings, the reduced number of refills, and the technology investments, we believe there's an opportunity for up to $10 million in
It doesn't
savings.
include the cost of the people who go out the door and who are getting their pensions.
No, because that's already accounted for in the budget. Obviously, we make an annual ADEC payment and factor it into that annual analysis of the benefits that would be dispersed on an annual basis, so separate and already budgeted.
And the 325 people, are they over like 30 departments, or how widespread are we talking here?
Yeah, about 25 departments.
25 departments.
I would just mention, too, in terms of the leadership team that we'll be putting in place, we anticipate that being entirely filled from within. So, for example, as I mentioned, Nick's role, Deputy Commissioner role at DAS, that is not a new headcount in the budget. That's repurposing of an existing role that was left deliberately vacant for this purpose. And we have a lot of optimism that we've got great talent inside the state already that can move into these leadership roles.